busy. Having some slight technical problems today, so I'm using the bloody phone again, and I hate phones. But they're useful. They get you out of trouble when everything else fails, and at least this one is reasonably good quality. So we want to talk about what autogynephilia is, because this is something that the autogynephilic lobby is really keen that nobody, now you can see my red horse refreshments there, that's after this video, that nobody actually finds out about. Because they have for many years, really since the 60s, been trying to pretend that they are actually transsexual. They're not. I don't care if an autogynephilic transvestite has a fake vagina. She's still not transsexual. It's as simple as that. So who are these people? Now, for many, many years, really up until the mid-1980s, they were considered to be delusional. They were considered to be cross-dressing fetishists. And to be honest with you, it's very hard to see why that's changed. Not all autogynephiles are cross-dressers. They're not all transvestic. But we'll come to that. Anyway, in the mid-1980s, Dr. Ray Blanchard, who's one of the unsung heroes of sexology, really, a tremendously important man, a very bright man, and with great intuition, but also great academic integrity. He was responsible for deciding, or for assessing applicants to the clinic he worked at, which was the Clark Institute in Toronto, to see whether they would be suitable for genital reconstruction surgery. That is vaginoplasty, the installation, the removal of the penis and testes and the installation, or its conversion into a neovagina, cosmetic vagina. And he discovered that a significant number of the people coming forward to him were exactly as he would have expected. They were transsexuals. They had been homosexual from early on in their lives, well before puberty. They'd been attracted to men. They'd been having crushes on boys. They had exhibited strong preferences for feminine toys in childhood. Toy preferences are a really strong indicator of adult sexuality. And a number of other key indicators that kind of were consistent with this profile. They tended to be small. They tended to be lightly built. They tended to be petite and naturally feminine. And trust me, if you know any, then that's what they are. They're actually very difficult to. That's my dog just came in, by the way. They're very difficult to tell from women. You know, HSTS just look like girls. I used to know. Well, she was a former girlfriend. I've got to be careful what I say. You know, a girl, and she had a sister who was only 11 months younger than her, and honestly, they were like twins. It was actually difficult to tell which was which. Bear in mind that one was transsexual, and the other was a natal woman, and it was really remarkable when you saw them together, just how feminine, and they were both incredibly pretty, I have to say. It's remarkable. You know, HSTS, it's not easy to tell. So Blanchard had expected this type. He then saw that there was another type, and they were much older. They weren't feminine at all. They tended to have had very masculine careers. They tended to be married. They often had several children. They tended to be very aggressively masculine. They weren't the kind of, you know, nice guy type. They were the pushy, hard-nosed, difficult to get on with type of guys. Like, anyway. This had interested previous observers, notably Kurt Freund, but others too. Nobody had ever really come up with an explanation for this. They found that this particular form was extremely multifaceted. Sorry, I haven't started drinking yet. And that made it more difficult to classify. And Blanchard hit on a real stroke of genius, you know. He said, right, we're going to make this really easy. We're going to do it by sexuality. And he said that the thing about the small, cute, feminine ones who knew they were girls from the age of 2 or 3 is that they're all attracted to the same sex, right? I mean, you can call that homosexual if you like, you can call it whatever, but they were boys who felt they were girls and who were attracted to men, right? And they knew this from childhood. And he said that makes a discrete group. That is a clear, cohesive group that we can say is that we can put a name to. And he called that homosexual transsexuals, HSTS. Now, the next group were not like that, as I've said. They were much more masculine, they're much older, they were usually married, they had strong attraction to women, they were sometimes extremely attracted to women. They tended, he found statistically, it's not absolute, but statistically he found that there was a tendency for them to have engaged in what he called fetishistic cross-dressing. And that was basically dressing up in women's clothes and pleasuring themselves. Masturbating, right? Usually in front of a mirror. And that led him to understand that these people were doing something really quite interesting, which is that they were fixated on themselves as a sexual target. But because they were heterosexual men, that sexual target had to be a woman. They couldn't fixate on a reflection that they were looking at in the mirror that looked like a guy, which their reflection would be. So they had to change their appearance so they looked like a woman. And that would give them the sexual hit. That's what they got off on. And he called this an erotic target location error. And it's a very, very important concept because actually it turns out it's quite common. There are numerous paraphilias that involve this. But Blanchard was the first to really assess it and describe it properly. So what's happening here is that the erotic target for all of us is normally another person. So it's outside the self, I'm attracted to my girlfriend every time I look at her. Seriously. But, she's another person. So that's the way it is. In an ETLE, the erotic target is yourself. And you modify yourself to suit the expectations of your erotic desire so that it will fit this target, so that it will fit your requirements of a target. And this leads to the creation of a second character, right? To play the role of the desired one, right? By the way, if there's any, I do hope there's some women because you really need to learn about autogynephilia. All men see all women in sexual terms. I'm sorry, we all do it, it's just the way it is. If you go and listen to some of kind of Palia's talks, one of the brightest women on the planet, she'll tell you the hunter instinct, which we have, and the sex instinct are hardwired together. So we objectify everything. Our first assessment of any strange object is, can I eat it? Will it eat me? And if neither of those work is, well, can I have sex with it? Don't blame men for objectifying women. We objectify everything. You are not special. Anyway, what's happened here is that this object is the self dressed as a woman. So this self dressed as a woman actually develops a new character. It becomes another person, right? And this is called the pseudo-feminine autogynephilic artifact, or personality. And this genuinely believes that it's a woman. It was created to be a woman. So why would it not? As far as it's concerned, when it's in the driving seat, it's a woman. And then it looks at the male body and it goes, wait a bloody minute. What is that thing down there? Why have I got a penis? I'm a woman. And there is the root of autogynephilic gender dysphoria. Now, gender dysphoria we'll do another video on, but essentially gender dysphoria is a feeling of discomfort. Dysphoria is just a feeling of discomfort, right? And this one is about gender. In a way, gender is a bad word here. It's kind of used because Americans don't like saying the word sex. You know what they're like. Anyway, autogynephilic gender dysphoria, which remember is a non-homosexual form. These people are non-homosexual, they're heterosexual men. Their gender dysphoria is nearly always linked to some visible expression of masculinity about themselves, and it's frequently the penis. It could be, facial features, it could be boobs, but it is often the penis, because it's a very obvious thing. You look down, there's a penis. Homosexual gender dysphoria really isn't like that. Although many transsexuals, HSTS, dislike having their penises touched and they don't want to take pleasure in them, they're not repelled by them. It's not something that's like, oh my God, I can't have that. It's like, it's the act. They don't want to be asked to penetrate men because girls don't penetrate men and they're girls. So it's like, no, I'd rather just forget that. So they don't want to use it, but that doesn't mean that they absolutely hate it in the way that an autogynephile very well might, and that's what the stimulation is, basically. The stimulus is for autogynephiles to go for GRS, so it's genital reconstruction surgery, to give them a neovagina, is this feeling of distress they get. That's the autogynephilic pseudo-feminine artifact gets when she looks down and she sees a penis. But there's a problem. There's a really big problem with autogynephilia, and that is there's still a host character. Now, autogynephiles spend their lives in a situation of tension between the male host and the pseudo-feminine autogynephilic artifact. And when the male host is in control, they will feel dysphoric about anything they have that's feminine. And when the female host female pseudo-feminine artifact is in control, she'll feel dysphoric about anything masculine about her. And to give an example of that, autogynephilic transvestites, before they come out completely, or rather, I think a better term is before they succumb completely to this condition, they often binge and purge. Now, binging and purging happens when these men, usually while they're still in the state of the covert state, it's when they're hidden. You might call it the occult state. They're doing this in secret, and what they'll do is they'll build up a supply of women's clothing and other things, artifacts, like say panty liners. They love panty liners. That's a symptom of a thing called of physiological autogynephilia. We'll do the types in another video, but there are 5 different types, possibly even 6 actually. And so they become obsessed by these things, and what they'll do is they'll build up collections of them. That's what they stimulate themselves with. That's what they get off on. Mike Bailey discusses in his book, The Man Who Would Be Queen, he discusses one of these characters who actually had a prosthetic vagina. I don't know where she could get these things, but there are shops that sell this stuff online. And she used to dress up in bra and panties and prance around her bedroom with this fake vagina on, and this is what got her off. Now, what will happen is that they'll binge and purge. They'll build up these collections, and that's called binging. And then suddenly they'll go, I want to get rid of all of it. And they have a thing called a purge, and they just get rid of it. They put it on a big plastic bag, and they throw it away in a dumpster or something. Or they burn it, they somehow get rid of it. It's like it's really like the scapegoat. They put all of these feelings they have into the clothing that they've collected, or the objects that they've collected, and then they get rid of them, in the hope that this will get rid of the problem, which it doesn't. What happens is that the cycle restarts again. And people like this can bankrupt themselves. It's easy. They just spend so much money doing this. But what's actually happening here is that when the pseudo-feminine autogynephilic character is in control, she's the one doing the buying. She's got a credit card, right? She's buying all this shit, all this stuff. Apparently we're not allowed to swear on YouTube anymore. What kind of place is this? Anyway. But then if the male host reasserts control, he'll say, I don't want any of this in my life. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. And so what you've got is this tension, consistent tension between the male host and the autogynephilic artifact. And that never goes away. And you can actually see the whole of an autogynephile's life in terms of this conflict, that she's constantly trying to destroy the male host. And the male host keeps fighting back. And so she gets rid of the cock. The male host will resent that. I mean, there are many cases now documented of autogynephiles who've had GRS and then had it reversed because the male host went, wait a minute, what have you done? That was my cock you took off. And so this is inherently unstable, right? These people are disordered. It can't be anything else because there are two personalities there, right? And they're in conflict. They're not in a state of balance. And that means that you have an inherently unbalanced person. And these are not people whom we should be indulging. We should be trying to treat them, giving them all the help they can to get them to try to manage and control their problems, not saying, just go and transition, that's it, because that will not help. That is not a cure. Transition is not suitable for non-homosexual individuals, right? And that, by the way, is the sign for everything's okay. I believe that Boromir used it. One does not simply walk into Mordor. Anyway, transition is never suitable for any non-homosexual person with transition desire. I don't care if they're female or male. It's never suitable because you always have the same conflict between an invented character and the real character, and eventually this will cause problems. Eventually, something will go very, very wrong indeed. So that's the basis of autogynephilia. Blanchard described it, and you should remember this, as a man's propensity to be aroused at the thought or image of himself as a woman. And that is key. Okay? Now, we've said, they tend to appear older, they are much more masculine than transsexuals. It is very difficult for them to appear feminine in terms of how they behave, how they look. It's a real struggle for them. And that doesn't help their conflict, remember. And that's why you have this problem with them when they get so... I did a video a while back about narcissistic rage. That's why they have narcissistic rage, because when you tell the truth, which is you don't actually look like a woman, you've just shattered the whole dream. And remember that for an autogynephile in particular, both types of transsexual need affirmation, but for an autogynephile, it's really, really strong. They live on affirmation. Every time you affirm one, every time you say, oh, you look lovely today, dear. Oh, yes, I thought you were a real woman. You're lying through your teeth. That's affirmation. That's a sexual hit. Because remember, it's a man's propensity to be aroused, and we mean sexually aroused. So every time you go along with it and simper smile, oh, yeah, that's giving them a sexual hit. So every time you say, wait a minute, you're not a real woman, or you call one sir, and there's a famous one of this huge lunk walks into a shop and starts screaming and shouting about being called madam when he's obviously a guy. Effectively, that's coitus interruptus, and you know how unpleasant that is, when your mum walks in when you're having a jack off, and she walks in and you go, or your landlady when you're having fun with your better half, and suddenly it's like, oh my God, you feel really like, wow, it's really, really bad. And that's what you do to them. When you deny that they're female, you give them this terrible hit of rejection and destruction of the character. Because what you're doing is you're basically erasing or invalidating, that's a better word, invalidating that autogynephilic character, which has been invented. Remember, it's not real. It's not a real person. It's a part of the male host. Right? People talk about being in touch with their feminine side. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. Autogynephiles become obsessed with it to the point that they're at risk to themselves and to others. And that's what we really need to be aware of. So I'm going to leave it for now because my darling wife is calling me. So many more videos coming. I'm going to try and keep them coming. I may just get taken off YouTube. The signals I haven't had are not encouraging. They don't like me talking about this at all. And on the other hand, I support the transition of young HSTS, I mean in their early teens, not in childhood, I'm totally against that. And there's a whole bunch of people on that side, the gender crits, who absolutely hate me for that. You can't win, can you? Take care. Bye, bye, bye.